Julia and Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for this sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. You can go over to the YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbean. You can also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have back our famous author Mark Fiorentino. We had Mark on, and he's laughing. We had Mark on in June. If you guys have not listened to the last show, Mark has been obsessed with the Einstein's unifield field theory ever since hearing about it when he was 10. He worked many years in the high-tech industry, including for IBM. So you can find all of his books on Amazon.com. So please welcome him back to the show.
Welcome.
Hello, guys. Good to be back.
Great to have you back. Hey, just a little recap really quick. If you could just tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. As you said earlier, it really all started with me and the interest in physics and science at the age of 10 when I found out I was born on Einstein's birthday, thanks to the nuns at my Catholic school who wanted me to find somebody who was a saint born on my birthday. All the children in the class had to do that, and the only resources I had were my parents and the calendar hanging in the kitchen, and that's where I saw Einstein's name. Went to an encyclopedia, started reading about him, and got into science, physics, eventually UFOs, and studying how they work, because I figured they were an advanced species. They would have the knowledge of the unified field theory. My focus was always on figuring that out, hopefully before I died, or reading about somebody figuring it out. That's really what I thought would happen, and then this sort of happened later on, 45 years later. And so I had, as you also said, various backgrounds in technology, electronics training, tech school, learned how to test circuit cards, diagnose circuit cards, learned eventually how to program, wrote some programs for IBM that helped them solve a lot of technical problems, won a lot of awards at IBM for technical programs that I wrote, and certain types of fixtures and testing and so forth, automation testing. And that took me, and I also had some work with Harris Government Systems and working on top secret projects. I really liked that. Unfortunately, the pay wasn't really good down here in Florida, so I wound up going to IBM eventually and got paid much better. And went through a normal lifetime. I would consider a normal, typical, guy, technical guy who went and worked in various places. Retired, had some psychic experiences along the way that kind of got me interested even more in researching science and just in general, because they made some predictions about me making a discovery at some point. So that was always in the back of my mind. So here we are today, fast forwarding, 50 something years from that first encounter, and then some encounters with psychics that kind of got me thinking about things even more. And then eventually, when I retired, I thought I'd just write this book and see what happens, something to do when I retired. And I didn't really imagine it would start to get big like it's gotten. And the discoveries astounded me when I was over. And I says, holy cow, there's a lot of really good ideas in this book. And,
Yeah.
and here we are today, just having discussions about those discoveries and where I'm going from here.
That's awesome.
When you were on the show last time, we really focused on the UFOs. I really want to talk about the NDEs. Have you ever interviewed anyone who has experienced them, and what did you learn? And is there a pattern of
Oh,
the
yes.
same NDE story? Like, do you hear a lot of patterns that are the same?
Yes, yes. I got interested in NDEs as well over the last, I'd say, 20 something years, because I thought to myself many times, I said, if you want to know how something works or you want to understand something like reality, go to the source, the creator of that reality, and ask them. And this is what I did at IBM for troubleshooting. I would go to the originator of the card that was under test, or the software, and I would talk to them and learn about the product and why it might be malfunctioning so we could troubleshoot it and get it fixed. So that was a successful technique for me. And so going to NDEs and learning about their experiences, they're going to heaven. They're going to another realm that really exists. A God really, there's the pattern. Uh, they see the white light. Most all of them do that. Not everyone, but most all of them. There's a tunnel experience. There's another realm. Time stops. It doesn't seem to exist there at all. So there's a lot of things going on here, which helped open my mind to a greater reality, to see the big picture that we're all in, not just me, but everybody, all 8 billion people, or we're all inside of a shared dream, basically, that the creator put into effect in this reality so that we could have experiences and learn to love. And there's a lot of work to be in here. Yeah, I've studied NDEs, and I personally know people who have had NDEs. Tamara Richardson, who's a good friend of mine and a psychic, has had 6 NDEs. And so I'm always interested in learning about what goes on there and if they have information. In one particular NDE that's talked about in my book, I discovered the signature of God, which is how the mechanism for how particles like the neutron and proton generate their mass. And I went specifically looking and searching through NDEs to discover this dynamical geometry that I suspected existed, and indeed found it in this NDE. Lynn Claire Dennis was her name. And I worked with that group for a while, but we had a difference of opinion about the afterlife. I believed in it more than they did. There were some scientists involved, and they had an effect on Lynn Clear that kind of made her doubt her experience was real after a while, which I says, I thoroughly believe what you experienced was real. And so I believe in you maybe more than you do, but so we went our separate ways. But yes, I've studied ND and continue almost every day watching NDEs. There's a lot of good ones on the internet. And
So you said that she had 6.
yes, Tamara did.
Oh my goodness.
Six deaths. There's actually quite a few of those coming out now where they had two or three uh, uh, different accidents in their lives and so forth growing up. And yeah, it's some of them were very brief with not
Right.
a lot of detail, but some of them were longer. And of
Wow.
course, she saw Jesus in one of them, as many people do. And that's always a special moment because you learn a lot about what's really going on here, and that it's we're not alone. This is important to realize and understand. We're all being assisted by guardian angels, guardian spirits, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them. We all have those people assigned to us from the moment we're born until we die. And this is part of what I've learned by studying the NDEs. Uh,
That's
gathering
true.
gathering the information about our reality and what we're experiencing here is helping me proceed forward because we all have the same mission basically.
Yeah.
Before we're born, uh, we do a process where we stand before God and swear we'll try and remember what it is we came to earth to do. Every last one of us. There's no exceptions. And most of us, I feel, don't remember. And we wind up having experiences and so forth, and then returning eventually, having not, accomplished our main assignments in many ways. But there are a bunch of us who do well, who score well, and I'm trying to do that. And I think now that I'm finally remembering my tasks and what I need to do, and then I'm just agreeing to do that. And once you do that, things flow much better for you in your life. You just have to find your way. It's up to you. You have free will. We all have free will.
Why do you think that some people could remember their past lives so well, and then other people they can't?
That's a good question, and it's probably part of the plan that it be more difficult for some people versus others. Uh, this place, being in this avatar, I mean, we're in an avatar. It's a make and a model. It's called the human. The make is human. The model is whatever race you are. All across the universe, there's all other kinds of makes and models. We're in the human form, right? So this human form, the avatar has a great effect on the thinking. Once you're bound in, and when you're born and your soul is bound to your body and your mind, it starts to affect your thinking. Once you're out of your body, and when through the NDEs that I've studied, you think differently immediately. You're still you, but you become very connected and understanding and wise. You have access now to all this information on the other side that you didn't have here, and you're not attached to all the material things that you are
Yeah.
here that messes up so many people. They get distracted, and if you can't wake up from that dream and make it a lucid dream here when you're alive, you stop living your life and you start too much television watching, too much uh, distractions of drugs and you name
Hmm.
it. There's so many things in the physical realm, uh, temptations and so forth that get you distracted from where you need to go. And you stop listening to that inner voice, and that happens. That's part of the system. That's the way it works, and it's up to each and every individual. That's why shows like this are important, because you get people thinking. When they
Yes.
hear this, they say, hey, wait, that kind of makes sense. I've always had these funny feelings, or I wish I wanted to do this in my life, but I didn't try, or I gave up, or whatever. um, it's happening all over the world, and hopefully we have the great awakening, which many people are claiming is coming. Hopefully, if it doesn't, there'll be the master reset, and believe me, nobody's going to like the master reset. So that's kind of a main motivation for me to help prevent the reset. And what is the reset? The reset is a major catastrophic event to fix the corruption in the world. And so, in order to do that, you have to break the infrastructure right down to the core until there's nothing left. There's no food supply, there's no power system, there's no government. So that takes quite a catastrophe to have all that happen. And if you look in the past, you'll see there's been literally hundreds of civilizations who've perished and are under 10, 15, 20 feet of sand now, or underwater, because of these great resets that happened before, because those populations got corrupted. And this system, this planet is, and this group of beings is not supposed to turn so evil that the good people don't have a chance to experience positive things and challenges without being suppressed and enslaved. And that's got to be fixed at some point. If the beings who have come here, I believe that I'm one of them now. I voluntarily and happily say I'm on Team God. I want to make a change for the better. And the way to do that is to cause the awakening to happen. And it's all over the internet. The time travelers are talking about it. The NDEers are talking about it. The psychics are talking about it. It's one or the other. And the awakening is much less painful than the reset. Either way, evil will be defeated. And that's something that is being predicted. And all I know is I could do my part through this book and what I'm working on in the lab now to try to bring forward an enlightenment so that we can dodge the possibility of a master reset on this planet.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad, a master reset. Hey, so I have a question for you.
Sure.
As we all know, the listener out there, we're going back to the moon, but we have not been to the moon in what, 50 years or something like that? So what do you think? Why haven't we been back?
Well, we haven't been back that we know of.
Ah, okay.
The fact that the NASA program is still going at all is kind of amazing, since I feel certain that we have the technology. United States and maybe some of our allies now have the UFO faster than light technology, and so we're going to. I'm certain that we have secret bases on Mars and the moon, and they're hidden and so forth. And so we probably have been there. And even when the astronauts went, the first ones, Armstrong and Buzz, they saw stuff on the moon. Buzz Aldrin's had made a statement here lately about they were being tracked and followed by UFOs while they were landing on the moon. And there is other people who work with NASA who says on a medical channel, Neil called in and says, "Hey, they're on the rise just above us on a crater edge, and they're watching us." So they're there. We're probably there because we reverse engineered that technology, and all of this is, in my opinion, for show, really, because
Yeah.
it's very expensive to build rockets and put stuff into outer space, and so inexpensive to use an anti-gravity space device, a space vessel, because you can go on pennies to the millions of dollars to lift a payload into outer space with a UFO type technology versus a rocket that's got to burn enormous amounts of fuel, enormous amounts of effort to design and build it. And we're talking in the multiple millions every time we launch a rocket, whereas we could fly a UFO up there, put a satellite into orbit, and it costs pennies.
Yeah.
And we're living in this fake world that NASA knows about. I've read so much about how they helped cover up people that, like Eugene Poklanov and Ling Ni, and people like that who have discovered or were on the verge of discovering anti-gravity and just shoved it under the rug because that's our nation's greatest secret. So going to the moon, okay, great. It gives you a good feeling and it's exciting and it's fun. I loved it when I was a kid and they did it. But I feel that we're wasting money doing it in a way that we should be publicly just saying, hey, we're going to take this UFO up there. Oh, by the way, we have UFOs and it takes us like 15 minutes to get there. And, but we're still in secrecy and it's still being covered up. So I don't know how much longer this is going to last. Hopefully something triggers a disclosure at some point.
I mean, we're basically living in a world of cover-ups today.
Yeah,
Every single thing is a cover-up from just
yeah.
everything.
It's almost as if, why tell the truth? We should never tell the truth to the public over anything. The natural thing is to lie almost every time.
Yeah.
And so it's frustrating. Don't even bother watching the news anymore. I don't. I change the station.
No.
And I'm stopping. I'm watching a lot less television than I used to when I was younger. It's one of the biggest problems we have in America and in the world.
I agree.
It's screwing up the culture terribly.
Yeah.
It was such a great invention, and it had such promise in the early days in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, but then it's just fouled out. It's just a nasty medium now that really
it's full of lies. Help. It's very depressing.
Yeah. And somehow that whole structure, if we can't awaken and fix this and get rid of the corruption that's spread out over the media and science, in so many areas now, we're going to be in for a rude awakening at some point.
No, I definitely agree with you. And what the problem is that I think people are so brainwashed. I was myself with the news, but the news is controlled. I knew someone personally who was a reporter on a big station, and it's controlled. What they say is controlled. They can't go outside the lines of what they can say and report. So then it shows like this and other shows out there that we speak the truth, right, of what we know. But because the news has such a big presence, it buys the culture of people's beliefs of what they understand and conceive. And I think that more shows like this need to get out there in a way where this is the truth. The hands-on of the American people, the people around the world who have encounters with either whatever it is, aliens or whatever it may be, that this is the truth. We're telling you the truth. We're the experiences. We're not the people being muzzled of what we can and cannot say. And you're right. I think in one way there needs to be a reset because it's so polluted that we see things and we tend to believe, oh, wow. And only to find out years later how corrupt and the system is disgusting. And what we're actually seeing was not the truth. And to the listener out there, I want to let you know that aliens are real. This is real. And just because you don't see it on your major news station every day, they're controlled. There's people like myself and other people around the world, so many stories. It's real. We need to stand up in a way, in a bigger way, and take over the platform for the media and let people know what's going on and how it's going on. And there should be a protest. A protest.
What do you think?
I think in a way there should be a reset because it's so corrupt.
There's so many people out there protesting for everything. I mean, what if?
Yeah.
What if that happened?
Well, I had thought about that too, like a protest. We're not alone. These crests, we're not all hallucinating, and I don't need NASA or any of these news stations to tell me what's going on. I know what's going on. So
I'm
we need to
agreeing
stand
with you.
together.
I agree with you, what you're saying. And what I'm hoping is going to happen is all you guys that do podcasts like this right now, you get your own channel that's broadcast on television. Somehow somebody puts up the money to get a channel, a major channel on the television, so that you're carried on satellite, and Apple TV.
Well, I
And
hope Joe's listening. Joe
uh,
Montaldo, you
I'm
listening?
trying to seed that idea. I'm trying to, I've done this on several shows now. You guys come get on, and then you get a slot. And, you guys run 24/7. There's a lot of podcasts like this out there. Put on as many as you can and talk about stuff like this. We're talking about reality, and we're talking about important stuff, the foundations of things, the metaphysics of the world, how things actually work. At least that's what I'm getting into. But when you talk about supernatural things, that's stuff is real too. Yeah, are there some fakers out there? Yes. But for the most part, people are real sincere and had these experiences, and it's just part of our reality, the bigger picture. And we need to get all that information out there so people can become more spiritual, more aware, and have a greater knowledge. And that's what it's all about. With greater knowledge comes better wisdom. And
I
wisdom
definitely
is
agree with
really
you.
important. We need that more than anything. Knowledge and wisdom. And this is, you're on the right track. And I hope somebody's listening out there and saying, hey, this is a good idea. We need to get all these people on regular TV, put these podcasts on. You can stream them 24/7. There's enough room for a whole bunch of shows to go up onto this network. Then you'll have a big audience, a greater audience that you can get out there, and it's something different than what we're getting out there now. And maybe you guys can actually do some sort of a news or something.
I just don't think that they would ever allow that, like a real news station on TV. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you're right about that. They are influenced.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
the major networks take the feed from AP. AP has been taken over by a political party, let's just say, and probably a think tank that's associated with that party, and they feed the news to everybody else. And then you can go from channel to channel, you'll see the same news on each station, almost the same words, because they're
Yeah.
just reading off the script that they get from AP. So they got this whole network controlling the narrative out there, and that's a serious problem. If the media was never supposed to become biased, it was supposed to be objective, and it's nowhere near that now. The news is always told with a narrative in mind, and a way of trying to convince the public to like these people and hate these people, and it's terrible what's going on.
It
Not
is.
only that,
It
but
is.
the UFOs, they're not really allowed. uh, the CIA, the NSA, the various groups have people all over the nation and all over the world at, at various stations, especially in the networks. And if anybody's going to cut to I saw an interesting podcast where they were talking about, there was this guy on there. He was going to do a demonstration and have a UFO show up live on TV. And they thought, well, yeah, we'll let him do this. He's going to fall on his face. There's no way this is going to happen. And this guy does some sort of meditation, and all of a sudden, across the sky, a UFO starts to come in the picture. The cameramen are on it, and then the guy back at the station says, "We've got to cut away from this. We can't show this," and they cut out. So
Wow.
they're in on it now. They're getting paid money by a group of people who have an unlimited supply of money all over the nation. and probably all over the world. This is why you very rarely see anything unless they're blurry pictures. You're never going to see a close-up picture of a UFO, the one that you could say, hey, that's
Yeah.
not one of ours.
Yeah,
Those
I
things are
agree.
confiscated immediately. There's loads of pictures taken like that.
Mhm.
But the physicists, where's the evidence? I'll tell you where the evidence is go over to the NSA or the CIA or the FBI and look in their top secret files. That's where the evidence is, and you can't see it. So even Bob
Exactly.
Lazar, I saw the Joe Rogan interview. It was fascinating. He says they dug up some of those UFOs they found from archaeological sites. Why didn't we hear about that?
Mhm.
They dug them up. See, the scientists make a discovery. Somebody, says, "Hey, this is, we should contact the government." Once they do that, it's all swept under the rug, and we never hear a thing. And it's extremely frustrating for people who want to get the truth out there. And we've got this group. Some people call them the Four Horsemen because there's actually four different groups that are above top secret, that are kind of running the show above the law, basically, and keeping all this away from the general public for whatever reasons they have. My personal theory is it's got to do with strategic military advantages they have because they have the technology that rules the skies, so they can call the shots. But I'm sure there's a lot to do with power grabbing and so forth as well. But it's incredibly frustrating, and I think you're right. You guys need to get a bigger platform. But then what I found is once you organize any group, any business gets too big, they seem to almost always get corrupted.
Mm.
And and then the next thing so somehow it's got to happen in a way that it can't be corrupted. I mean, the
Yeah.
people on the shows like your show can't be told, well, you can't talk about this, or we're not going to play that.
Yeah.
If that starts to happen, then that channel is no better than CNN or whatever.
I definitely agree. And I agree with you with the moon. I think that there's secrets that we don't know. And it's, the wool's being pulled over our eyes. And this is what you see. We're going to go back as 50 years later. I don't buy into it.
Mm.
Not at all. You're right about that. I'm not buying into that. And if it was one morsel of the truth, then there's something up there that they're aware of. Why, so yeah, I mean, and the UFOs, there's so many sightings, so many encounters. You got
There's
Fire in the
ways to-
Sky, you got Bob Lazar,
Yeah.
there's so many encounters. I myself had my own experience in 2007. So I don't buy into the news. I buy into realism of people and experience. All these things real. Is it possible? And then, I think we share these stories, we help each other, but there should be, in my eyes, a movement. The movement should be people around the entire globe standing up with each other and demanding all the evidence come out. There should be a movement.
I hope that happens. I do. I'll do my part to help that happen if I can. I am kind of trying to do that. More on that later. I'll get back with you if
That's great.
I succeed in developing something that can help trigger what you just spoke about.
Okay.
I
Help
agree.
trigger,
And that's
help
great.
trigger
And
a
I wish you
disclosure.
all the power for that.
Prayer is what I'm asking for because
Yes.
I'm working on God's team, and God has a plan for all of us, and we hope that plan wins out. Plus, we don't want the other plan B. It's much less pleasant, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on in the world with doomsday preppers And people who I drive around the neighborhoods and I see, wow, that house, look at all the moringa trees in that house. They're a prepper. That's no accident that they've loaded their yard with moringa trees, which is a highly edible tree, the leaves and
Mhm.
the seed pods. And I've got some in my yard. I got lots of fruit trees and stuff.
You know, I
Oh
was
wow.
I was reading that you said that your guardian angel had saved your life
Yeah.
once. What happened?
Yeah. It's part of a lesson here. And this is for everybody because there's a lot of stories like the one I'm about to tell you. This is not just me. This is a lot of people have had similar things happen. And in my case, I'm working at IBM and I'm driving home from work. And at that time, there was a road that wasn't completed. It is now, but at the time, it dead ended into a T intersection, and you could go left. And and there was a route that I could take going left that was quieter country roads that actually go by some farms and stuff. It was very pleasant. It took a little longer, but after a hard day of work, it was nice to relax or you could take the right side, which is a little bit quicker, but a hell of a lot more stoplights and traffic. And sometimes it'd be quicker, sometimes not. But this day, I decided, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to go left. And as soon as I thought that, I hear a voice in my left ear say, "Don't go that way."
Mm.
Now, I'm not talking I heard it in my head. I'm talking as if there was a person right off my shoulder, right next to my ear. I heard audible voice. So I'm thinking there's somebody in the car. I whip around and I look, there's nobody there. And me being kind of still in the science this phase and the technical guy, I says, that couldn't be real. And so I says, well, I'm going to go that way. And then it said again, don't go that way. A
Wow.
second time. And I says, I'm sure I heard that. That was real. It must be in a guardian angel because I do believe in guardian angels. And here's a warning coming to me to not go that way. And I stopped there at the intersection. And what do you think I did? I went that way.
No.
Yeah, because I had to know if it was real. So instead of worrying about being killed, which is what they were trying to prevent, that particular guardian angel is a male. And now I've come to learn many years later, his main assignment is keeping me alive so that I can complete
Mhm.
what I have to do.
Of
And
course.
there are many of them. Most people have at least two and sometimes more guardian angels. And so he was doing that. And I says, okay, I'm going to go that way, but I'm expecting that there's going to be a head on collision. So I'm going to be looking ahead the whole time, watching when I go through intersections and watching for something strange and dangerous coming ahead. So I was put on guard now. So you have to realize that the guardian angels and the people in the afterlife are outside of time. So imagine them as if they're in a helicopter above the whole highway and they can see way ahead over here. They could see the car that's going to go crazy. They could see me here coming. They could see they're going to intersect. There's going to be a possible exit point right here with our guy. And so we got to make sure that doesn't happen. This is just probabilities and just so happens that things were going to intersect badly. And so I went that way and I went up that road, and about three-quarters of the way home on a beautiful straightaway, I see this pickup truck starting to swerve wildly. It's a two-lane highway, and there's a van in front of me, and then there's me, and I'm looking out and I'm saying, oh, that doesn't look good. So we're proceeding, but we're slowing down, and this guy is swerving wildly, like trying to hit somebody. He's going into our lane, goes off the road, comes back on, goes all the way off the road on the other side. And he's repeating this over and over again. And it's causing people to turn off, into the ditch, which is what I did. The last minute, he's coming right at me. I should have listened, but I didn't. And I swerved. And I remember looking, and we missed by inches. And it was like
Wow.
slow motion, and I'm going, there's the guy going, and he spins out and finally stops in the middle of the road. And I'm sitting in the ditch with my little junker car, a little Honda that was 13 years old. The doors were tied to the seats to keep it from flying open. Saying if I gotten hit by that guy, it would have been good night, Vienna. You would have been gone, or you were lucky.
Wow.
And I said to myself, the next time somebody tells you not to go that way, don't go that way.
Well, I bet that it taught you.
Yeah, it taught me.
Listen to you. Listen.
It was more evidence. Hey, I'm saying, hey, there is an afterlife. People do live. People don't die. There's this whole other realm, this paradise, whatever you want to call it, this other dimension, and they're working with us. The bigger picture is starting to emerge in my mind. And I've had other contacts from my guardian angels in my room at night who sent me messages answering prayers. I mean, that's unusual that your prayers actually get answered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened as well. So now I'm gathering more evidence. For me, I know for sure there's an afterlife. I know for sure there's a God. There's no, I believe in it. It's more than that now. And that you can only get that kind of knowledge through personal experience, really, or your willingness to listen to somebody else and believe what they say.
Very true. I have a question. Have you ever seen anything dark and negative before?
I thought so once when I was a teenager, and I woke up and I had sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And I saw something in my room. It was morning, so it was daylight out, but I saw like this head, and it was blurry, and it went and right in front of my face, and it was mumbling. I couldn't make out what it was saying. I couldn't quite hear it. I wasn't tuned right. But then a psychic many years later says, that was your grandfather who was trying to warn you about what was going to happen to your mother.
Okay.
And I wish I had been able to hear it. Instead, I said prayers and was frightened, and but that's the only, and it wasn't really a negative thing. But have I experienced? No, I haven't really experienced any truly, dark thing. Thank you, Lord. I guess my guardian angels are doing a good job preventing that. I got enough on my plate. The last thing I need is to have to battle Satan or something like that.
Yeah.
How would you recommend people talk to their guardian angels?
The way I do it, it works for me. You see, once you talk to them, you start praying, they say, oh, he's open or she's open. And we're going to work with you. We will send you messages. They send me messages all the time, like on highway boards and those flashing LED things. I'm thinking about something, and all of a sudden, there's this weird message that pops on the board that answers the thing I'm thinking about. Like I'm thinking, how, I'm driving home from North Carolina, and I'm thinking, how am I ever going to pull all this off? I need to get, this into more homes. I need to get the ideas about super relativity out there. How am I going to do this? And then I'm driving by, a sign flashes and says, you have the winning hand. Oh, okay. Somehow what I know, somehow it's going to work out, and these kind of things keep happening, like I'm thinking, well, someday maybe I'll make it onto the Joe Rogan show or something like that. And I'm thinking that, and another sign flashes and it says, you're 2 clicks away from fame. That's all it says. What? Somebody is going through a lot of trouble. these synchronicities, they're real. And if other people, anybody who's listening out there, starts to pray at night, pray to God, pray to Jesus, pray to your guardian angels, talk to them. I'm not saying you got to do, 7 Our Fathers and 10 Hail Marys. I'm saying talk to them, ask them for help. They will help. They will answer. Every prayer is heard. I've heard that from many NDEs. Prayers stream up to heaven, and they're handled by a group of people, not just God, but people that intercede, that assist in the process for all the people here on earth and other worlds. And that's a real thing that you can do. And
I
the more
agree.
you pray,
Mhm.
the better your chances. And I've done that. I prayed. I'll give you an example. I'm falling asleep one night. I've gone through a divorce. I'm miserable. I'm alone in this little small apartment, and I'm just wondering about, how can you see in the future? This can't be possible. How could anybody see in the future? We have free will. Huh, I don't understand it. And I fall asleep thinking that. And apparently, it was important for me to believe and know that the future can be foretold. Because that night I have a dream. And it was a simple, strange little dream. I'm walking across a parking lot at work, walking toward work at IBM. And it's a beautiful sunrise coming up. And this dream was very lucid. And I don't usually dream in color. And it was in color. I saw the sunrise. And as I was walking in, I looked down and I see a shiny dime heads up on a white line between the two cars. And then I wake up and it's in the middle of the night. And I says, that was strange. And I fell right back to sleep and forgot about it. Next day, I go to work. Now, it's not in my mind at all. I have no recollection at this moment. I drive into work. I park my car. I'm walking in. There's this beautiful sunrise coming up. And I said, this looks familiar. And I continue walking. I suddenly look down, and there's a shiny dime, heads up, right on the white line, the exact spot that I saw it in my dream. And when I saw that, it suddenly rushed back into my memory. I dreamt this last night.
Mhm.
Somebody
Wow.
arranged for all this for me to see into the future to prove to me that it could be done.
Wow.
My prayers were answered. And you guys can do this too. You just got to become aware that you do have guardian angels. I don't care what faith you are. I don't care if you don't believe in God. It would be helpful if you started believing, because there is an afterlife. And I'm telling you that for sure. You could take that to the bank. And this is how you do it. You just got to start talking to them. Introduce yourself. I mean, they've been with you their whole life.
Right.
And you're never going to leave
That's
you
all.
alone.
I agree with you. That's valuable information out there
It's
for the
the truth.
listener. Open
Yeah.
yourself up with intent, and you have to have an open mind
Yes.
and enough intent
Intent is everything.
to
Yes.
pray for answers. And sometimes, your prayers won't be answered. They'll be heard, but not answered. And there's a reason why.
Well,
And,
they're
and
always answered. You may not get the answer you are hoping for. Like, many
right.
people are
Yeah.
praying for somebody,
Yeah.
to be cured, and they don't get cured.
Yeah.
That's because it was never on the plan to be cured. And part of the life experience was to go through this tragedy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
they
doesn't
say
seem
that in a lot
fair.
of NDEs.
Yep.
When they actually cross over, that they say that, wait a second, this person didn't make it. They were with me because they weren't supposed to.
Yep.
They finished, for example, they finished their journey.
Right.
And it's hard to conceive here in the physical realm, like, when you lose a loved one at a young age, or someone and a tragedy. And then I highly recommend watch NDE videos, because there's a lot of testimony out there. Sharon Stone. There's a lot of testimony out there. A lot of people, celebrities, non-celebrities, who, she had I think something with the brain, an aneurysm,
that's
something
right.
happened.
She did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know she did. I don't know her story, but I've seen it
Yeah.
on
And
the internet.
there's a similar pattern to what people experience and why someone's life journey was cut short. And on this side of the veil, we look at it like, a tragedy, which it is. On the other side of the veil, it's like it
Right.
was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you're home. You
Your
don't
home.
die. We're all eternal beings.
That's what you say.
Can't
Home.
really be killed.
Hmm.
And so as soon as you get there, within seconds, you feel like you're at home. You're
Yes.
going home again, and you really are, because you spend way more time there than here or any other
Well, that's
place.
true. My wife and I watched
It's
this film one time based on a true story, and this guy was at a stop sign and he died. He was fighting cancer and he died a couple times. Um, and he says life is so short that you don't realize it. It's like when you stop at a stop sign before you hit the gas pedal to go again. That's how quick this life journey is.
Yeah.
So appreciate it, validate it, experience from it, and learn from it because that side's eternal. This is just like a little tidbit of the reality of this realm. That's all it is. But meanwhile, on here, it seems like so long for some people.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
But when they cross over, like this is nothing. This is
Yeah.
a scratch on the surface, if
yeah.
even that.
That's true. That's true. I've heard that many times, and I agree. That's the way it is, because time over
Well,
there.
Mark, this has been the perfect conclusion to our first show, and we want to thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Well,
And
Wow,
thank
the
you
hour
guys.
went so
it
quick.
always, I
The
know,
hour went really quick.
that's what happens.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah, I know
Hey,
that
where can
happens a
people
lot.
find you and all that good stuff?
www.super-relativity.com. Super-relativity.com. I got all the key links and buttons right on front that you can go to the blog or to buy my book from the site or go to Amazon and get it, whichever you prefer. Um, Everything's there, blogs, my YouTube page. I encourage people to go there and subscribe. I put shows like this up there. If you guys agree to let me do that, I'll
yes,
make a
of
copy
course.
and put it up.
We love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and for historical purposes, and I I need to have as many beacons of knowledge going out as I possibly can. So I will continue
Yes.
making these shows for as long as I can to get the message out there. And I have so much information, it could go actually 5 or 6 hours,
Yes.
covering the
I
physics,
know.
covering the UFOs, covering how to break the light speed barrier. I mean, it goes on and on. The discoveries I made while writing the book.
Well, you
And
are absolutely full of knowledge, and thank you so much again for coming on tonight.
Oh, this has been a great show. I love it.
Yes,
Every
and
second of it. Thank
yes,
you to everybody out there, our listeners. Share the show. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge here.
yes,
Have faith, have an open mind, and start a movement. That's what I want to see.
yep,
Right?
yep. And we want a
absolutely.
special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. Thank you so much, and join us next Monday night, same time, 8 o'clock EST, 7 CT, on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And stay tuned
Yeah.
for Trish Mel with Missing Piece.
Everyone have a safe, great night. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our listeners, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great night.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye. I guess I'm going.